Welcome to Through the Rough, a place where real-life people share the real-life experiences that have shaped us into who we are today.
I want to start today with a word that, for most of us, probably brings up some pretty miserable images.
Okay.
The word is trudging.
Trudging, yeah.
Mm.
That does not sound good. It sounds like, walking through deep mud in the rain.
Exactly. Heavy boots, head down, just pure exhaustion. It feels like a punishment.
Right. Something you have to endure.
But, and this is really the whole point of our deep dive today,
Yeah.
what if trudging was actually the secret to a good life? We're looking at this idea called trudging the road of happy destiny.
It's a phrase that comes from some of the earliest recovery literature.
Yeah.
And we're going to explore it through this really raw, really powerful conversation from the podcast Through the Rough.
We are. We're looking at the story of a man named Drew Johnson. And, to call his story a roller coaster is just a huge understatement.
Yeah, that doesn't even begin to cover it.
We're talking about a guy who went from this shy, awkward farm kid to setting his own Jeep on fire because he didn't want to make the payments anymore.
Which, just to be clear, is a financial strategy we do not endorse.
Please do not try that at home.
Right.
But he goes from that level of just absolute chaos to then suffering a spinal infection the size of a grapefruit.
Unbelievable.
And then somehow finding this happy destiny.
And that's really our mission here, isn't it? It's not just to sort of gawk at the spectacular wreckage of his life, even though parts of it are, morbidly fascinating.
Sure.
It's to pull out a philosophy from it. Drew's story is a case study in things like grace and radical honesty and what it really takes to survive yourself.
A case study in resilience.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. Let's start at the beginning with the origin story.
Okay.
Because I think a lot of us have this picture in our heads of, the addict is the bad kid.
Yeah.
The rebel.
Right. The leather jacket, smoking behind the school. That whole stereotype, Drew's story is not that.
Not at all.
If you look at the way he describes his childhood in Iowa, it's really defined by this one feeling: separation. He calls himself the lone wolf.
He's doing all the right things on the outside, right? Farm chores, throwing hay.
Mm-hmm. All of it. But on the inside, he just feels like an alien, like he's watching life through a window.
He used that phrase that I think so many people can relate to. He said it felt like everyone else got the manual for life.
Yeah.
And I didn't.
Yes. That is such a core feeling. And you don't have to be an addict to have felt that sense of just profound social anxiety, of being uncomfortable in your own skin.
He was just looking for a bridge, a way to get from the person he was to the person he felt he was supposed to be.
And then at 16, he finds it. He finds Camp Kiki.
Which, we should probably clarify, is not a real summer camp.
No. It sounds like something out of a Friday the 13th movie, but it was just a spot in a cornfield where kids would go to drink.
The classic Midwestern coming-of-age scene. He's got this cool 1984 Jeep CJ7 cherry red.
He's got the look.
He's got the look, but he doesn't have the personality to go with it. Not yet.
Not until that first drink. And this is where that veil-lifting moment happens. This is so critical to understanding the psychology of it.
Yeah, he describes that sensation in a way that
Yeah.
I just think it's crucial for anyone who hasn't struggled with this to hear.
Right, because most people's first drink story is, I got dizzy, or I hated the taste, or I threw up.
Right.
Drew says the veil was lifted. He says, holy shit, it was awesome.
Yeah.
He felt like the haze that always kept him from connecting with people was just gone.
It was like a performance-enhancing drug for his personality.
That is the perfect way to put it. All of a sudden, he's funny. He's cracking jokes that and the anxiety just evaporates. The static in his brain clears up.
So for him, in that moment, alcohol isn't a problem.
It's a solution. It's
Yeah.
the best solution he's ever found. It solved the one problem he couldn't figure out.
Yeah.
The problem of being Drew.
And that creates that positive feedback loop, right? If you find a medicine that cures your deepest pain, which for him was that loneliness, that awkwardness, why would you ever stop taking it?
You wouldn't. It's the most logical thing in the world to keep going, which is why the whole Just Say No campaign kind of misses the point. You're asking someone to voluntarily go back to their pain.
Right.
But then Drew introduces this other concept that explains why that solution eventually becomes the biggest problem of all. He calls it the physical allergy.
I found this analogy so helpful. The one about strawberries.
It's a brilliant way to explain it. He says, look, imagine you're allergic to strawberries. If you eat one, your throat swells up. It's an abnormal physical reaction.
A normal person eats a strawberry, it's just a fruit.
Mm-hmm.
An allergic person eats one, they could die.
Precisely. It's a biological reality. Now, he says for an alcoholic like him, the allergic reaction isn't a swollen throat. It's something called the phenomenon of craving.
Meaning, once he starts, he can't stop.
Yes. The moment he puts alcohol into his system, it triggers a physical cellular demand for more. His own words were, the physical manifestation is that I want more.
And that just completely reframes the whole idea of willpower, doesn't it?
Completely. Because if your throat is swelling up, you can't just will it to stop. You can't think your way out of a physiological reaction. He's saying that once he takes that first drink, the switch is flipped. The brakes are gone.
Which I guess leads us directly into the next part of the story, section 2, the chaos. Because that's what a life without brakes looks like.
Absolute chaos. And, he's very clear when he looks back on this stuff. It's tragic, but some of it is also just profoundly absurd. It's tragicomic.
Okay, we have to start with the Jeep incident. This is the story that made me realize we're not dealing with a rational mind here.
No, this is peak alcoholic logic. So he's upgraded from the CJ7 to a Jeep Grand Cherokee. He's got a $450 monthly payment.
And he just gets tired of paying it.
He's just done. Now, you or I might think, okay, I could sell the car. I could trade it in for something cheaper.
Or worst case, just stop paying and let them repossess it.
Right. Any of those options make a certain kind of sense. They have consequences, but they're logical. Drew's mind goes somewhere else.
His solution is arson.
His solution is arson. In the middle of winter, he drives it out somewhere, douses it, sets it ablaze, and just walks away.
And the scary part is, he says he genuinely thought it was a good idea. It wasn't like a crime of passion.
No, it was a calculated decision. In his mind, it was the simplest solution. Occam's razor for a chaotic brain. If the car is a pile of ash, the payments stop, problem solved.
And this wasn't just a one-off moment of insanity. This chaotic energy was his whole life. He was working as a union electrician at the time.
Yeah. I mean, think about the jobs you really don't want someone in active addiction to be doing.
Working with high-voltage electricity has to be near the top of that list.
It's right up there. And he was working these brutal 12-hour shifts, driving 45 minutes each way between Grand Island and Hastings, Nebraska, and just drinking the entire time.
You mentioned something he called brownouts.
Yeah, which are different from blackouts. A blackout is, the lights are off, you lose a chunk of time completely. A brownout is more like a corrupted file.
Good.
Super glitchy, you get a moment of clarity, then static, then another moment. He describes driving down the highway, suddenly realizing he's about to hit a bridge abutment, swerving at the last second, and then just keeping his foot on the gas.
Oh my God, I almost died moment.
None. No reflection at all. It was just Tuesday. The primary drive wasn't stay alive, it was maintain the buzz. The survival instinct was just offline.
But then he hits his first bottom.
Yeah.
And it's not a car crash. It's not a fire.
No, it's something so much smaller and, in a way, so much more humiliating. It's a walk-in closet.
This moment is so mundane.
It really is. He's supposed to be at work at 4:30 in the morning. He's been drinking all night. It gets to be around 3 a.m., and he knows he has to get ready.
He goes into the closet to put on a sock.
A single sock, that's the task.
Mhm.
And he falls over, just loses his balance completely, hits the floor, and passes out. Wakes up at 10 a.m., face down on the carpet. He's missed his shift. He's failed at the most basic level of functioning.
And that was the moment. Not the burning Jeep, not the near-death car rides, the sock.
It's funny how that works. Sometimes it's the quiet little failures that scream the loudest. It was just this undeniable proof that he was completely broken.
So he gets sober.
He gets sober, and he makes it work for 2.5 years. And you think, okay, maybe this is the end of the story. Guy hits bottom in a closet, gets clean, happily ever after.
The recovery is almost never that simple.
Yeah.
It's not a straight line.
He relapses. And the way he talks about it is really interesting. He had this resentment building up because he got sober so young.
He felt like he'd missed out.
Totally. FOMO. He's thinking, I never got to go to bars legally when I was 21. I never got to just drink like a normal person. So he decides he's going back out.
And he doesn't just ease back into it.
Oh, no. He does it with a statement. He goes to a gas station at 6 in the morning and buys a bottle of Old English malt liquor.
I mean, the choice of drink alone tells you everything.
It's not a fine wine with dinner. It's fuel. It's destruction in a bottle.
Yeah.
And he drinks half of it and then does something really cinematic. He walks into the middle of the street and smashes the bottle.
Wow, why?
He said it was a symbolic middle finger to AA. It was his declaration of independence from sobriety. He was saying, I choose the chaos. I'm burning the bridge back.
Chaos is what he got. This next run is where it gets really dark. This is where the violence comes in.
Yeah, we have to talk about the incident with his friend, Bill Hershey.
This part of the story is heavy.
It is. Bill was a friend, a brilliant musician, apparently, but he was also struggling with some very serious, unmedicated mental health issues. Schizophrenia, bipolar,
You've got that, plus heavy drinking from both of them. It's a powder keg.
and it just explodes. Bill says something, a really graphic, horrible threat against a woman who was there, and Drew says he just snapped. A red veil came down.
That's the opposite of the veil lifting from his first drink.
The exact opposite. This was the veil of pure rage. He attacks his friend, beats him badly. Later that night, Bill retaliates, comes after Drew with a golf club. It turns into a high-speed car chase. It's just total mayhem.
But the takeaway for Drew wasn't just, oh, I got in a drinking fight.
No, it was much deeper. He says, I realized I had a capacity for violence I didn't know existed. He didn't just blame the alcohol. He saw that the alcohol was unlocking something terrifying inside of him.
It wasn't just making him silly or reckless anymore.
It was making him a monster.
Mm.
And that realization that he was becoming someone truly dangerous, that's what scared him more than anything. It scared him enough to actually seek help for real this time. He knew he needed a complete psychic change.
Which brings us to the next section. Section 3, the interventions. And there's this concept they talk about that I really want to unpack, the idea of grace.
Yes, and they have a very practical definition for it.
It's not some lofty abstract thing. Drew defines grace as getting something good without the expectation of return.
It's an unearned gift. You didn't work for it, you don't deserve it, it's just given to you.
But he adds this really important condition. It has a time limit.
An expiration date. He says grace has a fuse. When that window of opportunity opens, you have to jump through it. If you hesitate, it closes, and you might not get another one.
And the Wally moment is the perfect, most dramatic example of this.
It really is. Let's set the scene. Drew is at another bottom. The DUI, the violence, he's totally broken. He decides he's going to try one more AA meeting.
But he's running late.
He's late. And for someone who is drowning in shame and social anxiety, walking into a room late where everyone turns to look at you, it's an impossible barrier.
It's terrifying.
So he gets to the door, sees the meeting has already started, and he just turns around.
He gives up.
He gives up. He's walking back to his car, and he says in the interview he knows with absolute certainty that if he had gotten into that car, he would have driven away and died a drunk. That was it. He was done.
But he doesn't get to the car.
He doesn't. Because as he's walking away, he hears a voice yell, Drew Johnson!
It's Wally.
It's Wally. And here's the magic of the story. Wally was supposed to be inside, in the meeting. But Wally was a smoker. And in that exact moment, he was outside, breaking the unwritten rule, sneaking a cigarette.
So his life was literally saved by someone else's minor vice.
Exactly. It's incredible. If Wally had been the perfect meeting goer, sitting dutifully in his chair, Drew would have gotten in his car, and that would have been the end.
But because Wally was flawed? Because he was out there grabbing a smoke.
He saw Drew, he called his name, he grabbed him and basically dragged him inside.
It's like the butterfly effect. One tiny, seemingly insignificant choice to have a cigarette changes everything.
It shows you how fragile it all is. Recovery didn't come as a lightning bolt from heaven. It came as a guy named Wally standing on a sidewalk. It's about the power of just showing up, of being there.
That's a powerful thought. So Wally gets him in the door. Drew gets sober again. For real this time. He starts rebuilding. He meets the woman who becomes his wife, Hope. And you think, okay, finally, the storm has passed.
You would think. But it seems like the universe had one more test for him. And this one wasn't mental, it was purely physical.
Section 4. The physical crucible. This is where the story honestly sounds like an episode of House.
It really does. So
Yeah.
he's years into recovery now. He's got a family. He's stable. And he injures his shin playing softball.
Nothing crazy, right? Just a scrape.
A pretty bad scrape, but yeah, not something you'd think would be life-threatening. But some kind of bacteria gets into his bloodstream, and it travels through his body and finds a home in his spine.
In a disc he'd injured years before.
Exactly. It's a condition called osteomyelitis. And it creates this abscess, this infection, that he says grew to the size of a grapefruit.
A grapefruit on his spinal cord.
Compressing his spinal cord. The pain he describes is... it's unimaginable. A 10 out of 10. Screaming in a wheelchair. Just agony.
And the doctors at first, they don't believe him.
No. They look at him, he's a big guy, tattoos, looks rough, and they hear his story and they think, drug seeker.
Which is the ultimate nightmare for someone in recovery. to be in legitimate, excruciating pain and have everyone think you're just faking it to get pills.
It's a terrible trap, but his wife, Hope, she keeps pushing. She advocates for him. And they finally do the right scans and they find it. They realize he's septic and he is actively dying.
Okay, but now they have a new problem.
Yeah.
How do you treat that level of pain?
You can't use aspirin. You have to use the heavy stuff. They put him on IV dilaudid, then oxycodone, the very class of drugs that rewires brains like his for addiction.
This is the moment in the movie where you're just positive he's going to relapse. He has a medical justification. The perfect excuse.
It's the ultimate test. And this, to me, is the single greatest miracle in the whole story.
He doesn't.
He doesn't. He says the obsession to abuse them just never came back. The thought never even occurred to him. He took the pills for pain, and when the pain got better, he tapered off them, and that was it.
He said the mental shift was real, that the work he'd done had actually changed his brain.
He says God took the obsession. And whether you interpret that spiritually or psychologically, the outcome is the same. The part of his brain that screamed for more was quiet. It proved the recovery was real. It wasn't just him white-knuckling it. Something fundamental had been rewired.
And then his body does something else incredible. The autofusion.
This is just a wild medical footnote. Normally, after an infection ravages your spine like that, you need massive surgery. They put in rods and screws and cages to stabilize everything.
But not for him.
His body's response to the trauma was to just grow the bones together. The vertebrae literally fused themselves into one solid block.
That sounds like something out of a comic book.
It's amazing. And think about the metaphor there. The body that he had spent decades trying to destroy, it found a way to fuse its own broken pieces back together to create unbreakable stability. He lost some flexibility, but he gained a spine of steel.
Wow.
It's a perfect parallel for his whole journey.
And we really have to give a shout out here to his wife, Hope.
Oh, man. She is the hero of this part of the story, without a doubt. Drew is very candid that he was not an easy person to be with, even in early sobriety. He talks about being a dry drunk.
More emotionally unavailable, looking for validation elsewhere.
All of it. But she stuck with him. She was the one who saw that his shin injury was getting worse when he was ignoring it. She was the one fighting with doctors in the ER when he was septic and couldn't speak for himself. She saved his life.
It really hammers home that title, Through the Rough.
Absolutely. Redemption is not a solo mission. You need a Wall-E to get you through the door, and you need a Hope to keep you from dying in a hospital bed.
So he makes it through all of that. The fire, the booze, the violence, the infection. He survives. What did he learn? What's the philosophy he's left with?
Well, that's what we get into in the last section, the philosophy of a happy destiny. And for him, it all starts with one core principle.
Radical honesty.
Radical honesty. His number one piece of advice is tell somebody the truth, the whole truth.
It sounds so simple.
It sounds like a platitude, right? But he explains why it's so powerful. He says it's incredibly easy to lie to yourself. Our own internal monologue is a master spin doctor.
It's not that bad. I'll quit tomorrow. I deserve this.
Exactly. We can rationalize anything inside our own heads, but it's much, much harder to look another human being in the eye and say the ugly truth out loud. I messed up. I'm scared. I need help.
Saying it makes it real.
It makes it real. And he says that act of telling the truth is what kills the shame. Shame is like a mold. It can only grow in the dark, in secret. When you speak the truth, you turn on the lights, and the shame just withers.
That's the first pillar. Yeah. The second one is this idea of contentment in chaos. And this ties into his neurodivergence, right? His ADHD and autism.
Yes, he's very open about this. He describes his unmedicated brain as static on the TV, just constant, unfocused white noise.
He used a great Futurama reference.
He did. He compared himself to Fry in that episode where the ship is going down, everyone is panicking, and Fry is just weirdly calm and focused.
And Drew realized, that's me. That's my superpower.
Exactly. The very thing that made him feel different and broken his whole life, his brain chemistry, is actually a massive asset in a crisis. When everything is falling apart and normal people are freezing up, his brain kicks into high gear.
He's comfortable when things are on fire.
He is. He has learned to find a sense of contentment even when the world around him is a disaster. That's a level of resilience that is it's profound.
And the final piece of his philosophy is about parenting. He knows his kids might have the genetic predisposition.
This is the classic nature versus nurture debate, and he's very realistic about it. He knows he can't change their nature, their DNA. The loaded gun might be there.
But he's betting everything on nurture.
He's changing the environment. He said something so intense, something like, I would decimate countries to keep my daughter safe.
Yeah, that was powerful.
But he knows safety isn't about locking them away from the world. It's about showing them a different way to live in it. He's breaking the cycle by being present, by being honest.
He's giving them the manual that he never had.
Exactly. He's showing them that dad isn't perfect, but dad tells the truth. Dad shows up. And that changes everything.
I want to end by touching on something from the very end of the source material. This back and forth between Drew and Sam, the interviewer, they have totally different ways of seeing the world.
This was such a cool layer to the whole conversation. Sam admits, I see the world in binary. Ones and zeros. Right and wrong, yes and no.
Which is a very clean, very efficient way to process information.
It is, but Drew pushes back on that. He says he lives in the grayscale, he lives in the nuance, and it made me think, maybe empathy only exists in the gray areas?
Say more about that.
Well, think about it. If the world is purely black and white, right and wrong, then what is Drew? He's a criminal, he committed arson, he drove drunk, he assaulted someone.
In a binary world, you just check the bad guy box and move on.
Right, you discard him. But if you're willing to look at the gray, the pain, the undiagnosed ADHD, the allergy, the desire to be better, the Wall-E moment, the redemption, then you see a full human being.
His entire survival depended on people willing to see the gray.
It depended on Wall-E breaking a rule to have a cigarette. It depended on his wife of hope-forgiving things that in black and white look unforgivable.
So that road of happy destiny,
Yeah.
it's not a neatly paved black and white road.
No. It's a trudge through the gray mud.
We're back to that word. Trudging.
Yeah. And I think the final takeaway is that happy destiny isn't a place you arrive at. It's not a destination where you get a certificate and a gold watch and now you're officially happy forever.
The happiness is in the walking.
The happy destiny is the road. It's the act of trudging, one foot in front of the other, but doing it with honesty and with other people. It's the process itself.
That's a much more hopeful way to look at it. Means you don't have to wait for everything to be perfect to find contentment.
You find it in the middle of the chaos. And the final thought I'll leave everyone with. Something Drew said that just sent a chill down my spine.
What was that?
He said, I have another relapse in me, but I don't know if I have another recovery in me.
Oof.
It's a stark reminder of the stakes for him and for so many people, that the line between surviving and not is so thin. It can be one conversation, one decision, one person smoking a cigarette at just the right time.
So if you're out there and you feel like you're trudging right now,
just keep walking and look around. You never know who might be waiting there to walk with you or who might need you to be their Wall-E.
That's it for today's deep dive. Thanks for listening.
Take care.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to stop by throughtherough.net to check out our latest episodes, merchandise, and hit that donation tab to keep content coming. See you again next week.